Welcome to the Concentric Home Solution Woodworking channel. This is the channel where you can always count on authentic, honest reviews based on my opinion. In this video, I'm going to give you a review of my bandsaw. But before I get into that, I would like to invite you, if you haven't already, to subscribe, like, and leave a comment so I can know how to improve my production or my reviews and so forth. A bandsaw is made by Sharp Fox. I'll leave you the information on the model number. This is not going to be a thorough review. I say that because of the way that I use this particular bandsaw. It's the first and only bandsaw I've ever owned, but I don't use it, at least I don't think I use it in the way a typical bandsaw user uses a bandsaw. In that I don't do any resawing, and I don't use it to cut stuff like circles. Not to say I would never, but I have never used it in that capacity. So the blade that I have in there always stays in there. The way I use this bandsaw is as a alternative to the table saw for rough cuts. So this usually comes out in the beginning of my process. I have a board from the mill. I want to break it down to a manageable size. I probably cross-cut it with my handsaw or with my miter saw, depending on the situation. And then I make rips to rough dimensions using this bandsaw and an outfeed table. The tables on these are very small, and I do not recommend trying to rip long boards on such a small table. You need something to support it on the outfeed especially. So once again, I use this to rough cut boards that may still be under tension and so forth, that could open or pinch violently, which could create a dangerous situation on the table saw. Instead of attempting it on the table saw, I bring it over here to the bandsaw. And it serves me twofolds. One, I don't have to worry about kickback, but another side benefit, because of the thin curve of the bandsaw, I maximize the amount of yield that I get. I'm not losing a full eighth on my table saw. Okay then, some of the stuff on this particular bandsaw is not original to the bandsaw. These guides, the upper and the lower guides, are from a company known as Carter. I think I'm pronouncing it right. I changed it out from the stock ones because these was easier to get them, set and calibrated to the saw. What else did I change? That was it. Oh, I did upgrade. This is a upgrade from the manufacturer. I put a riser. But knowing what I know now and the way that I use it, the riser block actually was unnecessary. It gives you like an additional 3 inches, I think, in resaw capacity. But once again, I don't really resaw on this. This is a rough dimensioning tool. Not to say it's not accurate, because I went through the whole calibration process. My fence is parallel to that blade, and this miter gauge is perpendicular to the blade, but I don't use it that way. Matter of fact, except for the initial calibration, I don't think I've ever used the miter gauge, but I have it on here so you guys can see what it came with. I think the blade size is either 1/2 inch or 3/8. I haven't really messed with it since I initially installed it, which, by the way, is not a factory original. This, I believe, is a Carter blade I got from Peachtree Woodworking. The model number, if I didn't mention, or if it's not up on the screen, is a W1706. And it's a 14-inch bandsaw. An upgrade I plan for in the future is, notice too, I'm working with it. I'm working around the blade. I have it unplugged. Safety first, guys. It's not worth it. Don't play with these things. If I was to upgrade something in the future, I think I will upgrade the fence and the rails with it. But I don't know. Maybe by that time, I would have moved up to a bigger, more robust bandsaw. As it is right now, it works for me. Fence slides easily. I usually use a folding rule or a measuring tape to measure from the blade out. When I upgrade to the Carter guides, I don't know what happened, but I don't know if it's that it couldn't go back on because of the modification or whatever the case may be. I no longer have the bottom guard to the saw. So I'm actually using a mag switch. I'll come up with something better in the future. A mag switch with a feather board that I put to prevent me from sticking my hand underneath there. Because the one and only injury I have ever suffered in the shop, which could have been a major injury, which, by the way, was completely and utterly my fault, almost happened here. Not on a table saw. It's on here. Because this is what I'm always trying to convey to individuals. If you ever start disrespecting or losing respect for tools, that's where you get in trouble. Okay, let me give you the story. I was using this bandsaw and I turn it off. Now the bandsaw don't have a brake in it, at least not this model. I know there are newer ones and more expensive ones that have brakes in it. So it takes a while for it to wind down, even after you turn it off. And I had turned off the saw, but it was still spinning. It was spinning, well, not fast, but it was spinning irregardless. And I reached underneath the table and it didn't have that guard. And I touched the blade. I just barely touched the blade. If I was doing a more aggressive action, I would have lost my finger and it cut me. That's why I try to tell you guys, everything in a shop that has a spinning blade is dangerous and should be treated with the exact same respect. You wait for that blade to come to a complete stop. You unplug the tool when you want to do any major adjustment that has to involve coming in contact with the blade. So that's when I decided to put this mag switch with the feather board as a guard. So I can by accident reach underneath here. Because once again, as I told you guys previously, it's better to never come in contact with the blade in the first place. Okay. While I'm talking safety, I only expose as much blade as I need to make the cut. So if you're cutting a piece of stock that is 1 inch thick, it doesn't need, you see how low this is? It doesn't need to be any higher than this. It's not gonna cut, matter of fact, it being so low, the guys are able to do the job better. It's doing it over a shorter distance. So you have better control, you're gonna get a better cut anyway, plus the fact you have less risk of coming in contact with the blade. Push sticks, push blocks, all those things are your friends. They're there to be used, use them. It has a nice on and off switch right here that has a lockout on the on switch with a literal padlock. Since I'm the only person in here, why do I have a lock on that? I just don't like to play with these things. It comes with a safety feature. I'm gonna take advantage of it. I might have a kid in here one time, a nephew or somebody, and I just, if I could avoid it, I'm gonna avoid it. And what I do is I keep the key to this on my keychain that I have for my house, my vehicle, whatever. So, and I always have that on me, so I always have the key for this on me. Talking about, and I think I will show a shot of this, but still, just in case. Talking about, that's not what I would use, but when you're operating it and you turn off the saw, use a scrap piece of wood. If you need to work on it, you're in a rush or whatever, use a scrap piece of wood to stop the blade. That's a very good tip that I could pass on to you. So, it came with a gauge, 90, and it has the various angles. Again, I don't really use it. It has a little bit of slop in there. So that may or may not be a problem to you. For me, I could care less. This is a rough dimensioning tool for me again. This is why I'm gonna repeat again. Use this review in conjunction with other reviews. Because of this limited way that I use this saw, my review is not going to be all encompassing. So what may not be a bother to me may be a bother to somebody else that uses other features on the saw, use it in another way. Just being honest with you. It has storage. Oops, fell out. It has storage in the base. It has a big cabinet opening and a shelf. That's very useful. And I got a mobile base for it. My mobile base is a Bora, but it has two doors, one for the upper wheel and one for the lower wheel. Now, of the things I didn't like about it, one was the bearings, the thrust bearings and so forth, the guide bearings. So I changed that out, obviously. Other thing I don't care about too much, and I don't know if this is a common flaw in bandsaw, I don't know, but I find it annoying every time I adjust the height to expose my blade, I have to readjust the wheel. In other words, this bar doesn't track parallel. It has some settings, but no matter how much I have played with it in the past, I could never get it to stay parallel to where if I change the height, to where I don't have to readjust the guides. That's kind of annoying. But once again, because I primarily use this for breaking down one by material, I rarely ever have to adjust the height. What else? Oh, come around here. This is the knob you use. You slacken this knob you slacken this knob, and then I'm not gonna move it because it's gonna make me have to reset the whole thing, which is the annoying thing, by the way. You loosen this and then you can adjust it up and down. It has a quick tensioning. You're not supposed to leave tension on it, but I leave tension on it. They say you're supposed to loosen the tension, but I got the tension. Once you get the tension to what you want it to be, you can quickly relieve the tension off of it when you're not using it and quickly engage it to the tension that you last had it at. That's real good. I like that feature. This particular model came with a 1 horsepower motor, which is plenty for my purposes, for the way I use it. So 1 horsepower, I think it uses 11 amps. When you have it wired for 110, which is how it comes. But if you wire it for 220, I think it uses something like 5.5 amps. It's very robust. All these parts, the main parts, the body of it is cast iron. And other than the little quirks, it serves me well. But an off-reach table for the way I use it is a must. When you get big long boards, you 6, 8 feet, whatever the case, and you're trying to rip it, you need something to support it again when it comes off of this. For the way I use it, I really like this saw. Maybe one day when I start to do resaw on it, I'll run into its limitations. Like for example, if I'm gonna do resaw on it, either I'm gonna have to add an auxiliary fence, or I might have to get a fence system that allow you to have the tall fence and to where you could convert it to a low fence for the way I normally use it. But for right now, for the way I use it, and if you intend to use it that same way, I think you will enjoy this. Oh, other thing I forgot to tell you, down below, and I'll show you it from a different angle, in a B-roll, you could tilt. You have the ability to tilt the table. I never do that. So it could go 20 in one direction and up to 45 in the other direction. I have never had a need for that, but it can do it. You so easily the fence moves and you can lock it. It's very good. Very stiff, it stays in place. So you don't have to worry about it moving out of place when it gets bumped by a larger heavy board. It's a very good machine. It has treated me well. I will say so. The dust collection is not perfect. It is a bandsaw, but it's decent. It has a dust port, and I do hook up my dust collector to it. But this is one of the few machines where I make sure I'm wearing my dust mask. It doesn't create plumes, but you do get more dust than you would typically get with some of my other tools. So that's my review on the SharpFox W1706. This particular bandsaw is made in Taiwan. It is a decently built bandsaw. It works for me, and for the use case that I have, I can recommend it to anyone. Thank you for watching this video. Be safe in the shop and have a good day. If you enjoyed this video and you would like to be notified when new content is dropped on this channel, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and drop a comment down below.